Welcome to the Richard Sherman podcast, brought to you by SuperDraft Fantasy. Daily fantasy is broken, and SuperDraft has fixed it. Listeners can discover why with their first $5 SuperDraft contest for free with the promo code PFF at registration. No credit card required. Download the SuperDraft app and play today.
Well, I'm the best corner in the game. Don't you ever talk about me. Picked off. It is Richard Sherman. It's picked off by Sherman. Now, buckle up. Here he goes. And it is intercepted by Richard Sherman. Broken up. Picked off. This game is over.
Welcome to the Richard Sherman podcast. It's me with my guy, Mitch Eisenstein. Later on, we'll have my teammate, Leonard Fournette. But for now, Mitchell, I appreciate you as always. What's up?
Well, what's up, Richard, is you guys are coming out of bye. You're going to play this week. You're going to get a pick six. I'm feeling really, really good about it.
I like that.
How you feeling? I'm
feeling fantastic. Feeling nice and healthy for a change and in shape. You know, these are things that I've been chasing for a while, but, my facial hair needs some trimming. But other than that, I feel really good.
That's fantastic, man. We've had an interesting week. Obviously, we saw Odell Beckham go on waivers, and a lot of teams didn't appear to be interested, and then he became a free agent, and the world was his oyster, and he chose to go to LA. We talked about it last week. What the heck is going on with the Rams? How does this change their offense? What do you see with Odell in LA?
Well, Odell's a big-time playmaker. He's a great run-after-catch guy, and that's what Sean McVay and this system does. They get the ball in their playmakers' hands with space and room to run, great play action games. They create a lot of one-on-one matchups. So I expect him to thrive in that system, but there's still only one football, and so I don't know if it's going to be a matter of his talent or a matter of just the distribution of footballs. Cooper Kupp's getting a lot of targets right now. Robert Woods is still requiring his same amount of targets. They still move the ball to the backs and the tight ends just as much. So add another receiver to the mix and trying to get him the amount of targets that Odell Beckham Jr. is used to getting, and that he thrives with a high number of targets. He's usually, if he gets 7-8 targets a game, he's usually got 90 to 100 yards a game. But when you give him that many targets, those targets have to come from somewhere. So do they come from Cooper Kupp's targets, or do they come from Robert Woods? Who knows? But in terms of them getting another great receiver, that's obvious. His talent is undeniable.
Well, this seems to be the first time in his career that he's truly had a quarterback that can throw it downfield with vigilance, I think is a good word to use there. What does Matt Stafford bring to the table that Eli and Baker necessarily didn't?
Well, I don't know. I can't say that because I saw him catch many deep balls with Eli, and I think sometimes from the outside looking in, they're like, oh man, he doesn't throw a great deep ball, but I think Odell Beckham Jr. thrived with Eli, and I thought Eli hit him in a lot of spots to give him a chance to run after catch, and I think in the situation with Baker, I think it was just a poor fit offensively, for what they were trying to do. It seems that they weren't great at just being able to get him the ball, in the normal flow of the offense, and now when they don't have to try to force him the ball and they don't have to think about that, it seems their offense runs efficiently. And so I think that just was a misfit. I don't know if it was Baker necessarily. I didn't really, check the film that detailed unless we were playing them. But it seems that he will be fine with Matt Stafford and his staff. Obviously Matt is thriving under McVay. So I expect that to continue, with another huge weapon.
Yeah, you look at the other teams he was considering. Aaron Rodgers obviously came into the fold, and I know he was looking at the Saints, but I'm curious to know your thoughts on Aaron Rodgers and what's going on with Green Bay. Like, obviously Aaron kind of withheld information going into this year. What is that like being a teammate for someone that does that? I guess is my question for you, Rich.
Well, I'm not sure he withheld information. It's different from, the public understanding and thinking one thing and making their opinion and what the team thought and what the team knew. Mm-hmm. I highly doubt his teammates didn't know that. I highly doubt his coaching staff and his front office didn't know that. Were they okay with it? Were they aware of the circumstance and and felt comfortable moving forward 100%. But I don't know if I feel like he misled his team anyway, whether he misled the public, and kind of certain things. I mean, who cares? I don't. I mean, at the end of the day, people put too much onus in thinking that people, these athletes owe them something. They owe them an explanation. They owe him. All he owes you is good play. All he owes you is to go out there and do his job at a high level. He doesn't owe you an explanation for why. And that's where, people are probably going to get frustrated at me. But, I mean, it is what it is. If that's his choice, that's his choice. You can get – but that's what sports does. It's polarizing. People are going to have an opinion one way or the other. There's going to be people on one side, what? Outraged that, oh, he didn't get the vaccine. And there's going to be people that be like, bang, we're on his side. Like, I want to be the same way. And I feel the same way he feels, et cetera, et cetera. I got the vaccine. I feel good about it. My wife got the vaccine. We'll get the booster, and, that's how we're going to live our lives, because there's so many things in life where that happen that people aren't worried about, that aren't political, that people do. And you're sitting there, whether it's drinking or indulging in other things, whether it's eating too much, gluttony, and people, skydiving or putting their lives at risk in other ways. And then you're sitting there like, hey, get a vaccination shot, just like your kids have to do to go to school, or, you get all these booster shots when you want to travel out the country to certain places. If you travel to Africa or some of those countries, there are certain shots you have to take to go, or you can't go. You can't travel to those places, or you're going to be putting your life in danger and putting those people's lives in danger. And so I think when it comes down to that, I mean, you make the decision that's best for you and your family, and you live with it, and I think it's just too much arguing about what's going on right now. You know what I mean? There's too much arguing about this one man, this one person. Right. Like, at the end of the day, we have leadership. We have people in place that are supposed to encourage, people to make the right decisions. They're supposed to do the right thing. They're supposed to, hey, it's not Aaron Rodgers' job to get people vaccinated. Now, you encourage people the best you can if that's where you stand on it. If you say, hey, go get vaccinated, you'll be helping more people survive, more people to live. You'll be doing the world a service. Cool. Yeah, I feel like that's the right thing to do. That's my opinion. That's what I'm going to say. But I'm not going to be mad if he doesn't say it.
Richard, switching gears a little bit, one of your former teammates, Cassius Marsh, was in a little sticky situation, was flagged for taunting, for essentially looking at the opposing team's sideline. Really cost the Bears a great opportunity to win that game. Is this taunting rule just, in your opinion, ruining football? I mean, to me, it seems like the NFL was taking the right steps when they removed the excessive celebration rule. It's started to see some of the personalities and fun. It's like, to me, it looks like they're removing the emotions of the game. Has this gone too far, in your opinion?
It like the spirit of the rule is kind of in the right place. It's in the right ballpark. You know what I mean? I can understand the spirit of what they were trying to do, but the execution is piss poor. The execution is terrible. Like, and the interpretation is terrible. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what makes football exciting. Rivalries and chips on shoulders and people having that angst and frustration about, hey, this team let me go. So it's a revenge game. It's a revenge game for Cassius Marsh. And maybe it's not a revenge game like on a monumental scale, but it was a big deal for him, and it's a storyline. And usually the NFL is great about storylines. Now if he had gone and gotten Tomlin's face, then throw the flag immediately. But that's the pageantry of football. That's what makes it cool, is to see those moments, to see that human element, to see, hey, I made a play, and the human being is saying, hey, I'm showing y'all what I could do, what I could have done, what you're missing out on. And that's all he was doing. All he was doing was, hey, this is what y'all missing out on. I'm about to beat y'all. You know what I mean? The guy you could have on your team, but now I'm sitting here, about to give you an L. And the NFL punished him for it. And then not only that, they didn't even address the referee bumping into him. And that's a part of the game that I really feel passionately about, and I'm frustrated, is because there's too many instances where referees are putting their hands on players. There's way too many, because you can't touch a ref. And Cash has said that before. You can't touch a ref. But there are many instances where refs are putting their hands on players or pushing players back, and it's like, hey, now I'm not putting my hands on you. Don't put your hands on me. Like, and then people are quick to be like, oh, that player, like he touched the ref. He like brushed it up against ref. Like I'm at full intensity in the middle of a football game. Don't put your hands on me. Don't put your hands on me. Unless you're like saying I'm fighting somebody and you're breaking that up, keep your hands to yourself because you'll mess around and get hurt. Like, because one day somebody's going to not allow you to put your hands on them in that way. You know what I mean? They're not going to allow you to just, because they're not going to see you. They're going to think you're an opponent. You're on the other team, and this is too high friction of an environment. You know what I mean? So it's like they have to put some protections in place for players as well to say, hey, refs, there has to be a boundary of where you can put your hands on players and when you can bump players and when you can, because there are pictures out there and times where refs are breaking things up and they're putting their hands on players' necks and like grabbing them, and it's like, hey, like now that where's the line?
Right. I mean, especially at that moment of the game, it's unfathomable to me to think that these refs can think that Cassius and any other player can act without emotion. Like you said, he's making a huge play, a game-changing play. This is not the first quarter. This is minutes left in the fourth with the Bears mounting a huge comeback. I mean, to me, it's just so naive of the league to think that this is the right route to take. Like you said, it's obvious at times when somebody's taunting. But when someone's reacting emotionally after making a huge play, that is to be expected. That's what the fans want to see. They want to see that emotion. And for them to essentially police that out of the game, it's something, in my opinion, at least, that's going to certainly come to the league next year, and hopefully there are changes that are made. But
yeah, but it's there aren't going to be changes because people are like the competition committee voted for that, and the competition committee is a few coaches, a few former players, and mostly the teams, mostly the owners of the teams who never played this game, who will never step foot on the game, who would never get emotional about this game outside of getting frustrated their team lost or something like that. They will never understand what it feels like to intercept the ball, throw a touchdown, score a touchdown in the National Football League, to sack a guy, force fumble for the game, to intercept your former team to end the game. Like they'll never know those feelings or those emotions or how much that brings you out of there, or how it feels to just play free, to go out there and let everything go and play free. You can't control when you're playing free. When you're playing free and letting your heart be on your sleeve, you're gonna have moments where you're having like out of body experiences. Like sometimes you'll watch the film and be like, damn, what was I doing? Like, wow. Like I was going crazy that day. Like I'm really, because that's what it takes to play this game at the highest level. And when you've never experienced that, when you don't see that, then you shouldn't get to make the rules, but they do. They make the rules. And it's like me not being a pilot and being like never flown a plane, but like, hey, I need to come up with some rules for aviation. I don't know what it's like to be up there flying the plane or what you guys go through, but I need you to do this and I do that, but you've never flown the plane. You don't know what it's like. You don't know the obstacles you run into, the turbulence, so you can't police it. And in the NFL, that's what we have to deal with. We have to deal with people who've never flown the plane policing the pilots.
Richard, we're talking about bad calls and officiating. There's something that you and I spoke about briefly on the phone this week that I wanted to bring up to you on this podcast because it's relevant with one of your former coaches, Jim Harbaugh. I'm a huge Sparty fan. Michigan State knocked off U of M 2 weeks ago. Jim Harbaugh complained about officiating immediately after the game. And then 2 weeks after, he was told again to the media that the Big Ten told him that they were wrong on some of their calls, admitted to him. And Jim Harbaugh is back in the press complaining about calls that happened 2 weeks earlier. What is your take on a coach complaining about the officiating of a game?
There's a place for it. There's a place for it. You see it in basketball sometimes, especially right after the game. Like you have to make that point so that the emphasis goes to the next game. Like if one of your players is being fouled all the time and it's not being called, then you make that point so that, hey, the next game you might get fined, but they're going to be aware of it and they're probably going to give you a few calls because you mentioned it. And if you didn't mention it, they were probably going to treat him the same way. But to harp on it 2 weeks after the game seems a bit of a distraction. That seems like a bit of a distraction. And if a player was talking about an event happening from that game 2 weeks later, they would say, hey, this player hasn't moved on, or this player's distracted, or this player needs to be focused on the opponent at hand. And that's the same is true with the coaches. You need to be focused on your opponent at hand, or are you gonna miss something? You know what I mean? Or you're not, then you mess around and lose to a team you shouldn't lose to because you're still focused on some things that happened in the past. And you have to preach, practice what you preach. And in that situation, I mean, somehow they're ranked above Michigan State right now, even though, the head to head,
results on the field just flat out don't matter anymore.
And then you have the Oregon Ohio State thing where they do matter, right. And so two teams in the top 10 with, the same results, and you're giving them different treatment, and it's weird. But that's what one of the messed up things about those rankings is so subjective. You know what I mean? It's so subjective, just like calls on the field in the NFL, subjective. It's like, how are they feeling that day? You know what I mean? Did they have their coffee? Did they, is everything great at home? Because they may call it a certain way. These are humans, it's all subjective. Every call, every play you can call holding on offense. You can pretty much probably call lined up in the neutral zone more often than not, on the D lineman. But do you call it every play? No, you don't. You can't, because you can't play like that, and that part is where they need to kind of rein them in.
Richard, Cam Newton is back in the NFL with his former team, the Carolina Panthers. You went to bat for Cam when he signed with New England originally. Obviously was a free agent all year. What's it like? Now he's going to be in your division. I mean, how much does he have left in the tank? How does he change that team?
Well, I think it's huge for the fan base. I think no matter what, it's a boost for the fan base. It's a boost for the team. Their defense has been actually playing really good football. Stephon Gilmore obviously has been a revelation for them. I'm sure they're going to be trying to secure him pretty soon with an extension. And so I think in terms of just a bit of nostalgia and energy for the fan base and for the team, I think it's fantastic. How much does Cam have left in the tank? I have no idea. We haven't seen him play in almost a year, I think. And so, is he going to be good for this team and for the city and for just a feel-good story? Heck yeah. That's going to boost it. And now if he goes in there and plays like he has played in Carolina and gives that team another boost, I mean, it's going to be an unbelievable story in the NFL. And again, that's why people watch. But until we see him go out there and play and execute plays, I can't tell you what he has left in the tank. But I think for now, it's a great story and gives the Carolina Panthers a new energy.
Well, it'll be an interesting week 16 and 18 for you, to say the least. You're going against Carolina. Hopefully you get a pick off of them or something and reintroduce them back in the division.
Right. That's my part to the equation. But it's cool. It's very cool to see him back in the league. Another class of 2011. We still got some legends in the game, and we're holding it down.
Richard is joined by his fellow teammate and friend Leonard Fournette next. Stay tuned, guys.
Welcome to the Richard Sherman podcast, brought to you by Super Draft Fantasy. If you're a real football fan, you know that daily fantasy is broken. Super Draft has fixed it with their new game, Super 15. Listeners get their first $5 game for free, no deposit required, with the code PFF at registration. You know the game. Pick your best 5 players off the grid with $15 in salary and let it ride. It takes less than a minute. Watch me pick a new lineup every week and see if you can beat my score. Download the Super Draft app and see if you can beat me to win cash prizes. Just use the code PFF at registration for your first $5 contest free. No credit card required to claim the offer. Offer only eligible for new accounts. All right. Here we go. You know what time it is. It's time for this week's Super Draft Super 15 contest with me and my boy Mitchell. And I have to give Mitch credit. He is 3-1 versus me in the last 4 matchups. So it's time for a change. But it's not time for a change in the quarterback I'm picking.
Well, Richard, before you jump in, I just want to say one thing. I am 3-1 against Richard, and I have a lot of thanks to Josh Allen. Richard picked the wrong Josh Allen last week. Josh Allen, the linebacker from the Jags, was the right pick, Rich. So thank you, Josh Allen, for destroying Josh Allen. Go ahead, Rich.
You know what? What was I supposed to do? How was I supposed to predict that? That the tea leaf said Josh Allen was going to be. Who knew it would be that Josh Allen? Of course, when I need it to happen, it's but whatever. This week I have Tom Brady, obviously coming off a bye week, healthy, happy, excited. He has the Washington Redskins. He's PFF's still, the last time I checked, highest graded quarterback, and we're ready to do this week. Then we got Justin Herbert coming off the most points scored of any quarterback last week. So again, I see what you do for others, Justin Herbert. I need you to do that for me this week. Don't let me down, please. My $3 pick, AJ Brown, PFF's highest graded receiver in week 6. Seems like he and Ryan Tannehill are getting their groove back, like Stella in that one movie. So I feel like we're getting there. We're getting to where we need to be. Do it for me. My $2 pick, Kyle Pitts. You catching the rhythm. You starting to understand who he is. I need you to be special, spectacular this week. Go off for a number of reasons. We got Elijah Moore, who's coming on for Robert Saleh's New York Jets. Come on, keep doing it. Keep scoring touchdowns. Mike White providing them with beautiful passes. Come on. I need y'all. Look, we got to beat Mitch this week, guys. Look, this is my pep talk.
You need to beat yourself this week, Richard. You put up 43 points last week.
How was I supposed to?
So I'm going to go for 4-1 this week, guys, and I'm going to do it to Richard in a very, very, very interesting way here. I'm going with Josh Allen. The comeback. $5 pick, Josh Allen. Rebound week, projected to score the most points of any QB this week. I'm going with the quarterback, Josh Allen, not the linebacker. Then I'm going with my $4 pick, Jonathan Taylor. He's finding his groove. The Colts are kind of getting their offense going. Projected to score the most points of any running back this week. And guess what, Rich? They're playing the Jacksonville Jaguars, which they're going to do better than you did. So then my $3 pick, I'm going with Richard's teammate. I'm going with Chris Godwin. He is. It's going to be interesting. I don't know if Antonio Brown's coming back or not, but Chris has been in a groove as well. I'm going with him as my $3 choice. And then you guys know me, or you guys don't, but some of you do. Detroit Lion fan at heart, TJ Hawkinson. They're 0-8. They're going to probably be 0-9. But you know what? TJ Hawkinson's going to score a touchdown. That's my $2 pick. And then finally, A.J. Dillon, my $1 pick. He has just been absolutely ruining Aaron Jones' fantasy value. I think he's going to score from the goal line this week. That's my choice. 4-1. Look forward to seeing you guys next week. And I'm going to be celebrating again.
Well, let's hope that's not the case. But as you guys know, if you want to get involved, then use the promo code PFF for a free first $5 game. No credit card information required. Get in there. And it's a fun game. Follow my picks. Don't follow Mitch's picks. Just don't pay attention to the record. It's fluky. It's been fluky. Doesn't matter. Welcome to the Richard Sherman podcast. This week we got Leonard Fournette. We were trying to get D. White on, but he had some previous engagements, so we're gonna get him on later on onto the show.
Excuses.
Yeah. More likely. But my boy Lenny showed up. Obviously preoccupied. He's gamer of the year. How much does that play a factor in like just keeping you calm, keeping you level, just having something else to do with your mind and your time?
Well, it helps me out a lot. When I'm home, I live with myself, my kids, they live back home. So it takes my focus off football and I put into gaming. They had something came out on the internet. They said when you game, you lose a lot of weight. So I guess it's to keep I swear to God, I swear it came out, but it's facts.
Liddy, how much weight you did lose?
2 pounds.
I don't know if your pound per hours played ratio is where it's supposed to be.
2 pounds. I'll take it.
Liddy, what made you go to LSU? You had every offer in the world. I know that's the hometown team, but
yeah,
you could have went to Bama, you could have went to Florida. What made
I could have
you
went to Stafford.
You could have went to Stafford, Leonard. Come on now, you could have changed the program.
Nah, Stafford was too smart for me. I had to stay where I needed to be. Nah, but just being, I wanted to be almost like, so the year before, I think it was 13, Leonard Collins was the number 1 player coming out of high school, and he's from Louisiana, so he went to Bama. The year before that, another cat, I can't remember his name, he went to another school, but not LSU. So I felt like this decision is going to help my family in the long-term run, right. which it has, and it is right now as we speak. And it's just like a household name like I had in high school, and now I've committed to playing for my state.
Yeah.
It was nothing like it.
Right.
The love I got. They've been following me since 8th grade when I started playing high school football. And over the years, it's just the love they showed me. This was amazing. So I felt like it was only right that I go where I stayed at home.
Yeah. Yeah, that's real. That's real. You've been in a household name in Louisiana since you were probably 5. So like, how is that? You know what I mean? How is it to had that acclaim, all the way through high? See, I didn't have a name until I got, in the league, until my second, third in the league. I was kind of under the radar till then. So it's kind of, I don't know, I want to say it's easier, but it's different. To have a spotlight on you all day, every game. They come in to see
man,
you.
Like I tell people, man, I feel like no matter what my circumstances was in my years in the league, if I had a bad year or whatever, bad game, I've always beaten the odds. Because so much pressure on one guy from high school, you got expectations to do great things in college, and then when you do it, then you go to the NFL. You know what I mean? And you still doing the same thing you've been doing for years. I don't care what nobody said. I'm still beating the odds. You're beating the odds. You know what I mean? And just to do that, at moments it was pressure, because of course, us as athletes, human beings, put a lot of pressure on ourselves. So I probably never told nobody this story. So my first year at LSU, we played against Wisconsin. I rushed for like 37 yards. I'm talking about I was messed up, because that's my first time in my life I've ever had 30 yards in a game. Right. And people on the internet calling me a bum, sellout. So that's my first time like, oh, so this what it's like. This what it's about. You know what I mean? This is what it is. So long story short, Coach Frank Wilson, he was my running back coach at the time. He recruited me to go to LSU. I came in his office crying. I was like 19, 18 at this time. I said, man, I want to transfer. I'm like, this shit ain't working. Right. I can't. Like, it's just so much expectations of people that they have for me and I have for myself. And not me not thinking, wait, this ain't high school. You're not going to have 6 carries, 200 yards, 4 or 5 touchdowns. So it was kind of that wake-up call that I needed to be a better me. So that's when I really had to start back studying film, watching other people, see how they're, because that year, Nick Chubb was the guy. Nick Chubb, we both freshmen. He rushed for like 1,200 yards. I never told Nick that Nick's my guy. I'm like, I was watching Nick every week. I'm like, damn, like I know I could do that. Like, I know. So he was kind of like my motivation coming into my sophomore year. Like, so my freshman year, I finished for like 1,034 yards, 10 touchdowns, some bull, you know what I mean? So Nick Chubb was my motivation going into my second year as a sophomore. I'm like, I know I could do whatever they do. Like, I had to get my mind right. I got bigger, stronger, faster.
Right.
And my biggest thing, I made my mama quit her job, right? I'm like, listen, I put so much hard work into that offseason, Sherman. I made my mama quit her job. I'm like, listen, after this year, you will not have to work again. I promise you. Yeah. So my sophomore year, I went crazy. My first 4 games, I rushed for 1,000 yards.
Yeah.
Damn. I was up for the Heisman. I came in 5th, 6th, whatever. I got voted 6th, whatever the case may be. But I made my mark, right? I had 1,900 yards. I passed, I think it was Herschel Walker and Bo Jackson, single season rushing record. Me and Derrick Henry did that in 1 year.
Right.
And I finished with 24, 25 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So it was already set in stone. It was set in stone what I did. And now my junior came, I got my draft grade back. It was top 10. So I'm like, damn. Like, so I really manifested this. Like,
Yeah.
I manifested the whole thing. So now that I am where I'm at today, and I went through my stuff in Jacksonville, I have beaten the odds consistency, like over and over and over. It may have taken some time, but I still did it. I overcame it. You know what I mean? So that's why I don't be like, you see me, I don't be tripping no more about them things.
But but that's an important lesson for everybody. Everybody, because now that with the transfer portal and all that, and how easy they making it for kids to just give up and be like, nah, it ain't working out here. You know what I mean? Like you were ready to do, but you caught a hold of yourself. You know what I mean? Instead of like saying, nah, man, the system ain't working. You said I'm gonna get better, stronger, faster, and I'm gonna take it on myself and make sure I'm ready to go out there and dominate. Nowadays, kids be like, I'm about to transfer, and they ain't gotta have no conversation. They just they just leave.
They just go in. In some people's cases, it's the best thing for them. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, some, but
now it's too much of an option nowadays. Like it didn't used to be that big of an option. Now it's an option for everybody.
So that's like what the people not playing the bowl games, right? You know, I was the first player to do that.
Right.
So when I did it, they was kind of questioning my character. Oh, he doesn't love football. But wait. I played with a high and low ankle sprain the entire season at LSU, my junior year.
Yeah.
But how can y'all question me about do I love football when I got hurt? Because I listen, for a fact, I knew I was gonna do way better than what I did my sophomore year. Because I put in the work, but I put in times 10.
Yeah.
You know, I stayed, we had that break, I stayed, lift, ran, I did everything I was supposed to do. And I think that's when a lot of guys get discouraged too, because when they put in the work and they don't get the results they think they needed to what it should be. And me being young, I felt that way. Like every day, Darius Geis is my guy. He's breaking it. Like he breaking damn near all my records. So I'm at home watching the game, my foot up, I'm just crying. Like I'm crying. My mom, my dad coming up, man. Listen, man. Like, but this when in college you love the game. Like you love it so much, like it. So I'm frustrated. So I came back, Ole Miss game. I wind up rushing 16 carries of 284 yards, 3 touchdowns, whatever. And I'm like, and I kind of hurt my ankle again. So now this is a business decision. Should I keep playing? I got to take care of my family. And it's like it was decision. And I think about it now, like I'm like, I was really like.
You're making high-level decisions.
Right. And I'm like, damn, like, and I love the game. So when I made it, I was upset with myself because in college it's different. Like the camaraderie of guys you have, the relationship you build, like you want to be there with them, for them. But now it's like this the first time I had to think about myself and not put football before me, you know?
Yeah. So
and it's levels of stuff we have to go through as football players.
And that's the part a lot of people in the normal world don't understand. It's like every level you go through this kind of adversity, and that's what kind of like eliminates people. You know what I mean? It's like that stuff could have killed you. That could have put you out from the beginning, from your freshman year. That could have been what ended Leonard Fournette's story. They'd be like, man, he was great in high school, but his freshman year he didn't have a good year. He started fussing with the coaches, and he stopped working hard, and his story gone. Then your second year, you went and you got adversity. Your third year, you could have played in that bowl game, got hurt seriously, and they'd be like, man, it's sad what happened to Lenny. He was about to be a top 10 pick, then something happened to him. Then you get to the league, and you got a lot of expectations on you, again, because you're a top 10 pick. Like, you're supposed to be the franchise player. And how did it feel going to Jacksonville? You know, it's not like a storied franchise like that. And, you know, it wasn't necessarily the best situation coaching-wise to walk into. And that's what people don't understand. Sometimes, like, that can derail a career. You know, the coaching staff and the team you go into. If you go into the perfect situation, you mess around and have a Hall of Fame career just because you went into the perfect situation.
Right.
And sometimes you walk into a tough situation and it kind of slows the start of your career down, and then people kind of get a bad view of who you are and the player you are. I mean, obviously now you freaking getting to show your talent. You own a Super Bowl contending team. Like, how was that journey?
Like when they first called me, I don't think I talked to Jacksonville. So I'm whispering to my agent. I'm like who's Jacksonville? Like we ain't talking to them. Like, what's going on? So long story short, I got there. They had talented guys. It just wasn't winning for some reason. And I've always tell people that's one thing I respect about Jalen Ramsey. He loves football, but he loves winning. You know. And when I seen he had the same passion as me, just like we had Calais Campbell, Malik Jackson, Yannick, we had Miles. I mean, we had Mercedes Lewis, who's a vet who's been in the game 12, 13 years. And when I seen that opportunity, you know what I mean? And I'm a firm believer in God. My mother always put that in store for me. And even though at LSU, my season ended kind of sour for me, I think it did for me because still to this day, Kevin Falk holds the Russian title at LSU. He played 4 years, and I was going to surpass that shit my third year, and I was going to be done. Like, I had real aspirations and goals to be left that number one mark. So even though it didn't happen, my mother said something big is going to happen for you when you go to Jacksonville, you know, and we wound up going to the AFC Championship. I wound up rushing for 1,000-something yards, 10 touchdowns. And, you know, that is that. But I think with that group of guys, you know, we knew we had at stake. We had the talent. And I think we had a Super Bowl caliber team, but just not for the Super Bowl. And people are like, what are you talking about? But there's
exactly what you're talking about.
They have teams like that who's built for the playoffs, but not built for that Super Bowl.
Well,
And I think we had that. And, you know, my time there, I built great relationship with those guys. You know, still to this day we talk. And it happens. You know, my second year I got hurt my hamstring. Third year I bounced back. You know, and unfortunately things didn't work out between me and Jacksonville, and I came to Tampa. And I think my first time in life, Tampa was my first tempting year that I almost quit football, because football was like my avenue to get away from all the bull. You know, it has always been easy for me. That's why I must say that it's been easy, but it was a trying year last year. You know, my first time in my life, you know, I had to be a backup to Rojo. You know, I was the second running back. And my mind just couldn't handle it at some, you know. And I'm sorry everybody saw the story when me and B, we got into it on the plane, all this other stuff. But once again, I had to make another decision. And this was not just a business. This is a family decision. Like, my family eats off this game I play. I provide for them. So it's like, damn, I'm on the plane crying. He said, you let me know what you want to do. You know, I don't want to let you go, but if that's what you want to do, hey, I'll do it for you. But at that moment, this is when you got to suck up your pride and just, whatever happens, it happens with it. I just got cut from Jacksonville. Now, if I say I love this game and I love my family, why would I tell them to release me? I might not ever get another chance.
Right.
That's just the reality of it. So once again, I had to suck up my pride, wipe my eyes. I told Coach, listen, I'm here. Point blank, period. And at the end, you know, it wound up being one of the biggest blessings for me.
Right. Playoff Lenny.
Super Bowl winner, playoff Lenny came. And my relationship with those guys, it grew. You know, even despite it, I came there beginning of the first game and things like that. But I've earned a respect level from my teammates that I don't think no one will understand. You know what I mean? Because they understand what I was going through there. And by me, once again, coming in there, working my ass off, fighting to play, competing each and every day. And this is to the Super Bowl. I'm competing at practice, everything. Like, I'm still doing the same thing you see me do at practice right now. I finished 20 yards down, come back, try to get my win, things like that. So last year was like the biggest blessing for me. I'm not gonna lie.
And it is again another lesson for people to like you so close. You know what I mean? Like, you never know how close you are to like receiving a blessing. You know what I mean? It looked like all is lost. It looked like your darkest moment, but you're really close to having a breakthrough. It's really about to be a beautiful thing, and that's the last test for you to take. And sometimes the last test is the hardest test.
Definitely.
And for you to go from being ready to let it go and release me to having a great playoff run and winning the Super Bowl, which is everybody's dream. When you start to play this game, your dream as a young kid, your dream at the end is to win a Super Bowl. Like, hey, I'm gonna win a Super Bowl one day. I'm gonna win a Super Bowl one day, and you were able to do that and do that after going through that adversity, bro. It's different, and that's inspirational to people, and that's why I appreciate you coming on the show, because you sharing that story is gonna help some kid who in that situation right now, who's sitting there right now, like, man, this is some BS. Like, I'm about to quit. He don't know that if he just keep pushing, if you just put your head back down to the grindstone, you about to get what you deserve. You about to get it, and I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that story, Lenny, and I don't want to take too much more of your time. I know you got to get back to your gaming. But I know, and accept my invite when I get on.
I got you. That's a bet.
I appreciate you, man. I catch up with you later today.
Oh, you mean I see you later? I see you tomorrow. So.
Well, I'm about to get on the game.
All right, bet. Let's get it.
All right, I appreciate you. It's another week of the Richard Sherman podcast. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Subscribe if you have not. It's going to be another great week of football. I'm going to be out there this week, so I'm, going to try to put on a show. We'll announce next week's guest on Twitter, so stay tuned.